Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel, Forever in Memory. In this video, we'll be honoring American celebrities who have passed away today and in recent days, along with other notable figures from around the world. Before we begin, please show your support by giving this video a like. It really helps the channel. Thank you. And let's get started.
Died on September 23, 2025. Marion Burroughs, 92, was an American food writer and cookbook author whose clear voice and practical recipes shaped how millions of readers cooked at home. She began her career as a freelance writer and co-founded The Consumer Guide to Eating Out, bringing a journalist's rigor to the kitchen. In 1983, she joined the New York Times, where for more than 2 decades she reported on nutrition, food safety, and the politics of what Americans eat, while also offering readers accessible recipes that worked on a weeknight. Among her most famous contributions was the plum torte, a simple, versatile dessert she published in the Times in 1983. It became so beloved that the paper reprinted it annually every September for years, a tradition that turned the recipe into a seasonal ritual across countless American households. She also wrote more than a dozen cookbooks, including The New Elegant but Easy Cookbook and Eating Well is the Best Revenge, balancing elegance with economy and showing that good food did not require extravagance. Burroughs was admired not only for recipes, but for her persistence in covering food policy. She wrote about labeling, organics, additives, and the growing influence of agribusiness long before these were everyday topics. Her columns reflected a belief that what we cook is tied to how we live, how we shop, and what we value as a society. Her legacy is both practical and cultural. A torte baked every autumn, a shelf of cookbooks still in print, and a generation of readers who learned to trust that her instructions would guide them to success. Colleagues and home cooks alike remember her as a writer who respected their intelligence, never condescended, and insisted that food writing could be both joyful and serious. Died on September 22, 2025. Ivar Buxla, 84, was a Norwegian theologian and educator who devoted his career to studying and teaching Christian philosophy and ethics. A professor at the University of Agder, he became known for his thoughtful interpretations of faith in contemporary society, linking scripture with modern moral dilemmas. Buxla was respected not only in academic circles, but also as a public intellectual who contributed to debates on religion's place in a changing Norway. His lectures, articles, and pastoral guidance emphasized dialogue, humility, and the role of compassion as a living principle. Students recall his ability to make abstract theology concrete, drawing connections between doctrine and everyday life. Beyond scholarship, he engaged in interfaith and cultural conversations, believing that understanding across traditions was essential for social harmony. He served on committees, wrote essays, and mentored clergy who carried his influence into congregations across the country. His passing leaves a gap in Norwegian theological life. He's remembered as a teacher who married intellectual depth with human warmth, a scholar who valued clarity over complexity, and a believer in the power of ideas to nurture both faith and society. Died on September 21, 2025. Miguel Calderón Gómez was a Spanish jurist, academic and former magistrate whose long career bridged the classroom, the courtroom, and public service. Trained in law during the democratic transition of Spain, he became known as both a careful scholar and a principled judge, respected for clarity in reasoning and fairness in rulings. Calderón Gómez taught generations of law students, publishing essays and commentaries that connected constitutional principles with the lived realities of citizens. His lectures emphasized that justice was not an abstraction, but a daily practice requiring rigor, humility, and respect for human dignity. Colleagues valued him as a mentor who offered guidance freely, encouraging young lawyers to see law as service rather than status. On the bench, he gained a reputation for independence of thought and balance, resisting political pressure while insisting on transparency and accountability. His written opinions were praised for their precision and for their insistence that the law remain a tool for protecting rights, especially in times of social or economic tension. Even after retirement, Calderón Gómez continued writing and speaking on legal reform, judicial ethics, and the importance of trust between citizens and institutions. His passing is marked not only by the legal community, but also by former students and colleagues who remember a man of quiet authority, deep knowledge, and unshakable integrity.
Died on September 20th, 2025. Matt Beard, 46, was an English football manager whose career traced a path through women's football in Britain and abroad, helping to professionalize and popularize the women's game at a decisive moment in its growth. Known for his tactical adaptability and steady leadership, he managed clubs including Chelsea Women, Liverpool Women, West Ham United Women, and the Boston Breakers in the United States. Beard's most celebrated spell came with Liverpool, where he guided the team to back-to-back FA Women's Super League titles in 2013 and 2014, proving that careful recruitment and modern training could lift the profile of the league itself. Later roles with West Ham and a return to Liverpool reinforced his reputation as a builder, someone who could shape a squad, establish a culture, and leave it stronger than he found it. Abroad, his work in the National Women's Soccer League extended his influence into a new market, bringing English managerial perspectives into conversation with the American game. Players often spoke of his man-management skills, an ability to demand professionalism while also protecting the human side of sport. He mentored young talents into internationals, balanced veteran experience with youth, and consistently advocated for better facilities, medical support, and respect for women's teams. His death at a relatively young age is felt across the football world. Tributes describe not only a coach with trophies, but a pioneer who treated the women's game with the seriousness it deserved, laying the groundwork for the global visibility and investment it enjoys today.
Died on September 25, 2025. Aria Moscona, 83, was an Israeli actor and television personality whose warm presence and versatile talent made him a familiar figure to audiences for decades. Trained in the performing arts in Tel Aviv, he built a career that crossed stage, screen, and broadcast, often bringing humor and humanity into his roles. Moscona appeared in numerous Israeli films and television productions, where he became known for his ability to inhabit both comic and dramatic characters with equal conviction. His timing and understated charm made him a favorite in ensemble casts, while his interviews and appearances as a host or guest revealed a quick wit and a gift for storytelling. Beyond acting, he was admired for his commitment to nurturing local culture. He participated in community theater, supported younger performers, and lent his voice to projects that highlighted Israeli life in all its variety. Colleagues often spoke of his generosity behind the scenes, an actor who cared about the collective craft as much as his own spotlight. His passing is marked not only by the entertainment industry, but also by viewers who grew up with his performances and felt they knew him personally. Arya Moscona is remembered as a performer who bridged eras of Israeli media, leaving behind a legacy of laughter, empathy, and enduring artistry.
Died on September 22, 2025. Yuri Shaigardanov, 90, was a Russian scientist and educator whose life's work revolved around environmental chemistry and the protection of natural resources. A professor and researcher with a long career in academia, he specialized in water quality, ecological safety, and the chemical processes that sustain or endanger ecosystems. Shaigardanov was known for blending laboratory rigor with public concern. His studies of pollutants, industrial waste, and their impact on rivers and soils informed regional and national policies in Russia, and he became a trusted advisor in questions of environmental regulation. Beyond research, he was deeply committed to teaching, guiding students through both the theory and the ethical responsibility of science. Many of his pupils went on to careers in ecological monitoring, public health, and sustainable development, carrying his influence into new generations. He published widely in scientific journals, wrote textbooks, and presented at conferences, always with an emphasis on how chemistry could be applied to safeguard daily life. Colleagues remember him not only for his intellect, but for his openness, an academic who welcomed debate and believed science should serve the public good. His passing closes a chapter in Russian environmental science. He is remembered as a pioneer in raising awareness about ecological risks, a patient mentor, and a voice reminding society that stewardship of the natural world is inseparable from human well-being. Born on October 18, 1960, in St. Agatha Berchem, a suburb of Brussels, Jean-Claude Camille François von Warenberg, later known worldwide as Jean-Claude Van Damme, grew up in an ordinary Belgian household with an extraordinary drive. His father, Eugène, ran a flower shop, while his mother, Eliana, looked after the family. From an early age, Jean-Claude was small, shy, and sensitive, often teased for his build, but he discovered in martial arts both a refuge and a destiny. At the age of 10, he began studying Shotokan karate, and it quickly became the center of his life. Training gave him discipline, balance, and a sense of confidence he had lacked. Hours spent repeating kicks, punches, and kata transformed his posture and his spirit. By his teens, he earned a black belt and was competing in full-contact karate tournaments, where his flexibility and precision made him stand out. Alongside karate, he studied ballet for 5 years, learning control, grace, and endurance, elements that would later define his distinctive on-screen style. The young Van Damme also discovered bodybuilding, sculpting his physique to match the heroes he admired on screen. At 16, he was already winning local contests, including a Junior Mr. Belgium title. Yet behind the muscles and trophies was a restless ambition. He was captivated by the idea of cinema, by the magic of Bruce Lee and the raw power of martial arts films. In his room, he would watch and re-watch fight sequences, dreaming not just of competing, but of performing, of taking martial arts to the big screen and reaching audiences far beyond Belgium. By the time he was in his late teens, Jean-Claude had become a promising athlete with a magnetic presence. He trained relentlessly, sparred with older fighters, and built a reputation in the Brussels martial arts scene. But more importantly, he had developed the conviction that his true path was elsewhere, that the discipline he had honed in the dojo could be his ticket to international stardom. Standing at the threshold of adulthood, Jean-Claude was ready to trade the familiar streets of Brussels for the unknown, chasing a dream as improbable as it was irresistible.
As Van Damme entered his 20s, the hunger to prove himself pushed him beyond the familiar circles of Brussels. He competed in European karate circuits, earning victories that showed he wasn't just a flashy kicker, but a disciplined fighter. His balance of precision and flair made him popular with audiences, though inside he was already looking past the ring. He opened a modest gym in Belgium, training others in karate and bodybuilding, but every spare moment was spent imagining another life, one on film sets, under lights, where martial arts could be storytelling rather than just competition. By the early 1980s, he made the bold leap. He and his childhood friend, Michel Kissy, moved to Los Angeles with little more than savings, determination, and the belief that opportunity favored the relentless. The first months were grueling. Van Damme worked odd jobs, from carpet installer to limo driver, from club bouncer to delivery man. Anything that kept him afloat while he knocked on studio doors. His limited English was a barrier, but his physical presence spoke volumes. He rehearsed spins, stretches, and splits in rented rooms, shaping a reel of moves that he could show to anyone willing to watch. Small appearances began trickling in. He took background roles, blink and miss parts where he was just another muscular figure, and even doubled as a stuntman. One of his earliest notable gigs was a minor role in Breakin' 1984, where he can be seen dancing in the background, a fleeting glimpse of the charisma he carried. But beneath the struggle was a stubborn focus. Every rejection was fuel, every odd job a temporary obstacle. Van Damme trained even harder, perfecting his signature 360-degree kicks, mid-air splits, and acrobatic combinations. The turning point came when he landed the chance to demonstrate his abilities directly to producers. He famously threw a perfectly controlled kick inches from their faces, a risky but unforgettable audition style. His athleticism was undeniable. He wasn't just another bodybuilder, he was a performer whose movements had rhythm and drama. Slowly, the idea that he could anchor a film began to spread. By the mid-1980s, his persistence was starting to pay off. Whispers of opportunities, meetings with smaller studios, and a growing awareness that Hollywood might just have room for a Belgian martial artist with movie star ambition. Still, he remained on the cusp, living frugally, hustling, and waiting for the one role that would shift him from a nameless extra to a recognizable name. The foundations of his legend were being laid, a blend of European discipline, immigrant grit, and the belief that sometimes the boldest leap is the only path forward.
The late 1980s delivered the breakthrough Jean-Claude Van Damme had been chasing with relentless determination. In 1988, Bloodsport premiered, a low-budget martial arts drama based loosely on the story of Frank Dux, What might have been just another B-movie became a phenomenon, thanks largely to Van Damme's charisma and physical artistry. His fluid kicks, balletic splits, and intensity gave the film a visceral charge, and suddenly the Belgian newcomer was a bankable star. Audiences had never seen someone blend brute force with such grace. He wasn't just a fighter, he was a performer, and Hollywood took notice. The years that followed cemented him as one of the defining action icons of the 1990s. Films like Kickboxer, Lionheart, and Double Impact showcased not only his martial skills, but also his willingness to push the genre forward, fighting in exotic settings, playing dual roles, or weaving in emotional undercurrents. With Universal Soldier, 1992, opposite Dolph Lundgren, Van Damme broke into blockbuster territory, while Hard Target, 1993, directed by John Woo, gave him an edgier, stylized platform. Audiences came to expect his trademark high kicks, the stoic charm punctuated by flashes of vulnerability, and the splits that became cinematic legend. At the height of his fame, he stood shoulder to shoulder with Stallone, Schwarzenegger, and Bruce Willis, part of the pantheon of muscle-bound heroes who defined action cinema for a generation. Yet Van Damme's appeal was distinct. His European accent, his dancer's balance, and his open embrace of physical beauty made him stand apart. He brought an almost romantic quality to fight scenes, turning combat into choreography. The mid-1990s also brought challenges. Overexposure, personal struggles, and shifts in the action genre tested his resilience. But even when the biggest studio offers waned, Van Damme kept working, reinventing himself in independent projects, and surprising critics with raw performances like in JCVD 2008, where he played a fictionalized version of himself with startling honesty. The film reminded the world of his humanity and skill beyond kicks and punches. Van Damme is celebrated not just for his films, but for the perseverance that carried him from a flower shop in Belgium to the peak of Hollywood stardom. His story embodies discipline, ambition, and reinvention. To fans, he remains the Muscles from Brussels, a symbol of how determination and artistry can transform a dreamer into a global icon.